Hello everyone. In a world flooded with headlines, narratives are easy, but the insights are rare. Welcome to Swift Insights, Decoding Geopolitics, where we cut through propaganda and break down the global events as they really are. Today's topic for discussion is the Myanmar Elections 2025 and why they matter for India. Let's look at the history of Myanmar first. It was earlier known as Burma and received independence from Britishers in the year 1948. The 1947 Constitution of Burma granted specific special division secession rights to various states like Shan, Kachin, Karenni, and Chin, the right to secede after 10 years of independence. The Prime Minister Yoon Yu's government at the time of independence was very weak and unable to control the ethnic insurgencies. The military realized that these ethnic insurgencies are a direct threat to the Union of Burma and could lead to the disintegration of the entire country, and therefore, through a coup on 2nd of March 1962, the military took over the parliament, the judiciary, and the executive of the government. The army or the military established Union Revolutionary Council and replaced the civilian government headed by the Prime Minister Yunu with the Union Revolutionary Council chaired by General Navin. The Prime Minister and the other leaders were abolished, arrested, the constitution was abolished, and the parliament was suspended. This continued until the 1988. During this period of 1962 to 1988, various reforms were introduced by the military government. However, these reforms were very atrocious, rigid, and did not boost the economic growth of the country. The military rule expanded in economy and bureaucracy. There was a complete censorship on the press, media, journalists, and freedom. The country Myanmar was under the martial law from the period 1962 to 1988, and the military introduced various reforms in the country. However, these reforms did no good for the overall betterment of the country and rather retarded the economic growth of the country. During this period of martial law, the country was directly and indirectly ruled by the military government. The protests were brutally suppressed and the military emerged as the ultimate power center. Almost every center, from media to manufacturing to banking, was regulated and was under complete control of the military government. The military government also introduced enterprise nationalization law in 1963, which essentially meant that they are going to nationalize each and every private firm present in that country. New private factories were banned, no new institutions were opened, and moreover, the military government also took control of the entire banking sector. As a result of all these factors, the administration and the management of these institutions was dominated by military officers who lacked expertise in business and economics. As a result of which, these institutions they started to collapse. The nationalization measures under the Burmese way to socialism were widely criticized by the scholars as an abject failure that damaged the economy and the future prospects of the country. Due to this, the average economic growth in Myanmar during the period of 1962 to 1987 was only 1.3%, making it one of the world's poorest country by the year 1987. The economic collapse of Myanmar led to high inflation and unemployment, as a result of which, on 8th of August 1988, a massive protest known as the 888 Uprising was held by the people of Myanmar, where the public, students, lawyers, journalists, etc. came on the street to protest against the military regime. It was during this time the Aung Suu Kyi emerged as a national icon and a strong symbol of resistance against the military regime. In order to suppress the protest of the public at large, the military again retook the power in country. General Sam Mong established the State Law and Order Restoration Council (SLORC), imposing more draconian measures than the earlier general Mr. Nevin had imposed. These martial laws aimed at curbing the protest in a violent manner. The military troops went through cities to city throughout the Burma, indiscriminately firing upon the protesters. From 1988 to 2015, Myanmar functioned more as a command and control state engineered by the military to retain absolute power. The political parties were restricted, dissent was criminalized. Aung Suu Kyi, the symbol of democracy, was put behind bars, and the state's response against the protesters was very swift and very brutal. Thousands were killed, the dissents were criminalized, and the constitution was written by the general for the generals. Due to all these factors, Myanmar had fallen into an abject poverty, the ethnic conflicts were rising very heavily, and Myanmar was isolated, sanctioned, sidelined, and avoided at an international level. However, over a period of time in 2015, the military regime, under the international pressures, allowed the conduction of free and fair elections in 2015. In 2015, for the first time, the free elections were held, and the National League for Democracy, headed by Aung Suu Kyi, emerged as a winner. Mr. Hitin Kaur became the first civilian president since 1962, and Aung Suu Kyi assumed the role of the state councillor, which essentially means the prime minister. The civilian government formed in 2015 relaxed the existing rules. They expanded the media, more liberty was given to the civil societies, and the dissent was slightly encouraged. The civil liberties were improved, but the military still held the government by its neck. This was because the military had strategically This was because the military had a veto power with him, which essentially means that However, this democracy in 2015 was basically a controlled democracy. Why? Because military still held veto powers with them, which essentially means that military could block, override or collapse any decision taken by the government which threatened or jeopardized their interests. Moreover, under the constitutional lock-in of the Myanmar election, Moreover, under the constitutional amendment introduced in the year 2008, the military automatically held 25% of the seats, and any amendment required more than 75% of the approval. So this basically gave the military a veto over the constitutional change forever. Moreover, the military also controlled the ministries like defense, home affairs, and border affairs, which means that they basically had their fingers on the gun. In general elections, the National League for Democracy won an even bigger landslide victory than in 2015. This dominance of NLD essentially meant long-term civilian legitimacy. However, for the military, this was an essential red flag. The military's political relevance was shrinking really fast, and therefore, in order to get hold of the government, the military again staged a coup on Feb 21, 2021, when the parliament was set to convene and the NLD was about to begin a new term. The military detained Aung Suu Kyi and other civilian leaders, declared emergency, and seized full control of the country. Since 2021, the economy of Myanmar is collapsing very severely. There has been numerous isolations, sanctions at an international level, and the public at large is also protesting against this military dictatorship of Myanmar. Therefore, in 2025, the general elections are going to be held. However, the 2025 general elections are basically seen as a strategic reset to rebrand the military rule as a constitutional governance. This is basically seen as a pressure valve to offset the diplomatic and the economic pressure. Why this matters for India? For India, Myanmar isn't just a neighbor, it's a strategic corridor. India shares nearly 1600 kilometers with the Myanmar across the Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland and the Arunachal Pradesh. If there is any instability in the state of Myanmar, then there would be very heavy influx of refugees into the India, which adds pressure to the existing natural resources of our country. This could also lead to illegal trade, illegal movement, rise of insurgency in the northeast India. Moreover, China has also been using the instability in Myanmar as a tool to increase its influence over the South Asian countries. The China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, the coup port, the Yunnan pipelines are some of the finest examples through which China is exerting its influence over the Southeast Asian region. Simply put, Myanmar is gateway for India's Southeast Asia. If there is any problem in the Myanmar state, then its implications will be felt in India, and this will also threaten India's security, connectivity and the regional ambition. This was SIP Insights, decoding geopolitics.